Now that we've gotten to know King Geedorah, it's time to delve into another of Doom's alter egos with Viktor Vaughn and the first project under this pseudonym, Vaudeville Villain. Welcome to the Book of Doom, a year-long series following the life and times of hip-hop's greatest supervillain, MF Doom.
Wait! I've come to help! Listen to me!
You help me?
As we're all well aware by now, MF Doom has had multiple personas and names that he's taken on over the years, starting with Zev Love X in his KMD days. With each of these alter egos, we get a different experience as well, and Viktor Vaughn is no different. In an interview with NPR, Doom explains that Viktor Vaughn is a scientist and rapper from another dimension in which hip-hop is banned. He's traveling the cosmos looking for the best place to practice his art. He lands on Earth and his time machine breaks, leaving him stranded here.
Victor will be the equivalent of, say you know how you have Superman and then you got Bizarro. It's supposed to be like Superman's equal in an alternate universe type of thing. So Victor's from that alternate universe. Things are a little bit different. Hip hop is banned. Science and technology is like at a further along than it is here considerably, you know what I mean?
He spends his time here touring the open mic circuit, which we see on the open mic night tracks on Vaudeville Villain. There's many points at which Doom describes Vic aside from that bit of backstory as well. We get to know a bit about Vic as a person via Doom's interview with Red Bull Music, where he's described as an 18 to 19-year-old whippersnapper who thinks he knows it all. He still looks up to Doom, but sometimes disagrees with Doom as well.
Yeah, Vic is similar, but he's younger. He's more like a younger, like say 18, 19-year-old young whippersnapper, think he know it all kind of, you know. A lot of times he disagrees with Doom, but still he looks up to Doom. You know what I mean? Yeah.
At least that's from the perspective of Doom as the person, like Daniel Dumoulin, and not the rapper. As far as Doom the rapper goes, we get more insight from the sequel to Vaudeville Villain, Venomous Villain, on the track Doom on Vic.
But then Vic, he earned his own rights, you know what I'm saying? Now he doing his thing, and he got his own little niche, like where people can know the difference between the two, and I respect that.
We'll get more into Venomous Villain at a later time though. It's also something to note that Vic likely doesn't wear a mask. This is brought up on Open Mic Night Part 2 where he says they don't know the face, but by the name they knew him. As well as in the video for Mr. Clean, where although his face is obscured a lot of the time, we can still tell that he's not wearing a mask. Another point at which we hear about this is on Fancy Clown from Mad Villainy, where he says, "That's you if you want to wear a mask all day." Vaudeville Villain released on September 16th, 2003. The album as a whole has a bit of a darker, almost sinister theme to it, more so than previous Doomed projects. At least until Born Like This, where we kind of get that sound again. Given that Vic comes from a place where hip-hop is outlawed, it kind of makes sense that he would come in so aggressive with it, but you can also tell that he's having fun with it at times. I know this sort of energy isn't too unheard of regarding Doom's music, but to me this is really where he starts to feel more comfortable. That could very well be because this persona that he's portraying is younger, but I think it also has something to do with the fact that this isn't under the MF Doom moniker, so maybe he felt more comfortable doing something a little different. My favorite instance of Vic's more playful yet sinister nature is at the beginning of Lactose and Lecithin, somewhere out in Cop Killing Queens, where Bodine stopped limousines and they flee the scene. Somebody on his back, bleeding vest, all cracked up. Listen dude, don't get me misconstrued as a sniper. This V. Vaughn, not to be confused with Vila Viper. The song itself further delves into Vic's story of being a time traveler, where he makes note of drugs being cheaper in the future. And the song itself gets its title apparently from ingredients that are used as filler for cocaine, because that's what he's buying here. As per usual, Doom inserts bits from old cartoons into tracks. With a dead mouse, we see that in more of a character building fashion.
Even then, I had the uneasy feeling it wasn't young Viktor Von Doom who would need my protection.
This clip is from the 1981 Spider-Man series, specifically the Canon of Doom episode, where we hear, "Even then I had the uneasy feeling that it wasn't young Viktor Vaughn who would need my protection." This is brought up in the show when Boris, the older gentleman, rescues Johann, who initially wants to overthrow Doom because he's a tyrant. Boris is basically trying to explain that, yo, Vic wasn't always like this. This is a really good allusion to the Vic that we hear on the album. I almost feel like having that information gives more substance to Vic as a persona rather than just leaving it at that snippet. But I also understand why it wasn't included. It is a lot to explain in that snippet. And maybe Doom wanted people to go and find that sample and watch that episode of Spider-Man. As Doom mentioned in his NPR interview, Vic was around the open mic circuit, and that's evident with the first of the open mic night tracks. Here, we don't actually hear from Vic, but instead it's more of a way to set the scene for the one to come. I mean, it's evident that he's been lurking, and by the time part 2 comes around, he's ready to bring the heat.
Respect, it's V, what the heck? Y'all know who's the best, might as well cut the check. They didn't know the face, but by the name they knew him.
The most interesting track on this album, after listening to it again and as I've gotten older, is Let Me Watch, or Can I Watch, depending on where you're listening to it. The song's about Vic meeting with his cousin's friend's friend, who's portrayed by Apani B. Fly, and he's gonna go out with her. At first, this concept and song might sound a bit weird and creepy, and it is, because at this point Doom is like 32, and the person that he's talking to is assumed to be a teenager since she has a curfew. However, we have to remind ourselves that he's speaking from the Viktor Vaughn persona, and Viktor Vaughn is around 18, 19. So still a little creepy if she's younger, but you know. The song for the most part takes us through their thoughts of each other separately. Vic just wants to fuck, and Nikki is falling for him as a person. Basically, they kind of want different things out of this. Everything seems to be going well until the end of the track, where he, for some reason, calls her a hoe. And at that point, she's basically like, yo, leave me alone. At the end of the track, we hear her saying,
rather masturbate than fuck with Vic Vaughn.
Let me watch.
Rather masturbate than fuck with Vic Vaughn.
Vic, being the clueless person that he is, doesn't get it and just assumes that he can win her back. Or at the very least, she'll let him watch. Vaudeville Villain wraps things up with the final bonus track, Change the Beat, where we get the typical outro where, you know, there's a snippet from Canon of Doom yet again.
And so, Viktor Von Doom hid from the world.
But then it's followed by Doom just rapping over 3 entirely different beats and asking for more, thus adding to this character of Viktor Vaughn who seemingly just wants to rap his ass off. It's also interesting to note because some people are saying like, oh, this thunder and lightning halfway through, or like, maybe that's the sign of Doom coming back, or because, I mean, Viktor Vaughn is from Marvel Comics and so is Dr. Doom, so it makes sense. So maybe this is just kind of leading up to it. That wraps up Chapter 5 of the Book of Doom. Vaudeville Villain has always been a favorite of mine over the years, but for different reasons. Initially, it was because it had some higher energy tracks like Lactose Lesson, Mr. Clean, Saliva, songs like that. Which was great for high school me because that was the type of rap I was into. I liked stuff with higher energy. But as I got older, you know, that kind of toned down. And nowadays I enjoy it because it shows us a different side of Doom. Like, it's a more aggressive and kind of more, I guess, youthful, if that makes sense. Back when Doom himself was like 18 or 19, he was in KMD making music with Sub Rock. The tone and subject matter then was even different. So here it feels like he tapped into an alternate version of his younger self a bit. It could also be seen as a way for him to build up the Doom persona since, like I mentioned, Viktor Vaughn takes further inspiration from Dr. Doom of Marvel Comics. Dr. Doom's actual name is Viktor Von Doom. We didn't really get another MF Doom project until 2004. So from Operation Doomsday in 1999 till 2004, all we've been doing is getting features, and essentially world building for Doom. With that said, thank you all for watching, and be sure to join me next time where we'll get into my favorite Doom project, Mad Villainy. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this episode, this chapter of the Book of Doom. Apologies for it being so much later than the other ones. It was meant to come out a little while ago, but I got busy and wanted to put a little bit more time into this. So I hope you understand. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what you thought. And as always, if you were in the streets, if you were outside when this album came out, let me know what you thought of it when it came out and what sort of impact it had on your music taste. Also, like and subscribe if you want to see more content and further episodes of the Book of Doom. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe out there.